Hello, dreamers. Welcome to this week's episode of Cherish, Live, and Dream. I'm your host, YaYa.
And I am your host, Jay. And we
are
are your hope dealers.
So, listen, cousins and cousinettes, today's topic is going to be one that you don't want to miss. So, definitely tune in and stay for the whole entire service. Because, like Grandma say, don't miss the benediction. You don't want to miss out on your blessing.
That's right.
So listen, guys, today's topic is no residue. So before we get started, I actually looked up the definition of residue. Y'all like our note card? I mean, what are these cue cards?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this is mine.
Yes.
Jay has her own. We'll introduce that as well another time.
Yeah,
But
because you didn't tell me
anyway-
you had your cue cards. You normally don't have them. Always have them.
I know.
I'm trying to show out today, but it's
I
okay. I'm gonna let
am.
you have it. I'm gonna let you have it. And let her have her shine. But go ahead.
So listen, the definition of residue is something that remains after a part is taken, separated,
Mm-hmm.
or designated, or after the completion of a process.
Okay.
So listen, I was having a conversation with my dad, affectionately known as Daddy
Mm-hmm.
Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
or Bruh Jackson.
Okay, bro Jackson. Okay.
My grandmother used to say, brother. But anyway, so I was having a conversation with him, and as you guys know, I'm always talking to my dad. He is so full of wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always pouring into me, especially during this season that I am currently in, to make sure that I am staying on top of things that I need to stay on top of so that I can cherish, live, and dream. So anyway, when we speak, we always talk about the Bible because, like I said in previous shows, that he is a Bible scholar.
Mm-hmm.
I would even call him a theologian because he is really into dissecting the Bible and sharing with me his revelation on different things, different stories in the Bible. So we were talking about David, King David.
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, David was anointed as a king when Samuel the prophet came to his dad's house, the house of Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
to find the next king. And it was David, and David was out in the shepherd's field handling those sheep, minding his business, wasn't
Mhm.
thinking about being a king. And Samuel anointed him, but he wasn't appointed until years later. And so, what my dad was explaining to me is that David had to go through different tests to make sure that he can handle the appointment
Mm-hmm.
of king. And so, what really resonated with me in our conversation, Jay, and it messed me up, honey.
Okay.
My dad said God had to take that residue off of David, had to break things off of him
Mm-hmm.
before he can actually be appointed. And so I thought about that thing. I said, woo, this is heavy. This is heavy, Lord. What are you saying? So instead, I said, Dad, what are you saying? He was saying there are things. So if we, think about it in our own life,
Mm-hmm.
before we can get to whatever that next level is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your level is, whatever Jay and my level is,
Mm-hmm.
God has to break some things off.
Yes.
That residue from things of our past,
Mhm.
whether it's hurt, whether it's toxic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So this always brings me back to my divorce. I know y'all like, why she keep talking about that divorce? Y'all, that divorce taught me a lot. So that's why I'm going to keep talking about it.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
So I thought about the divorce and the residue. So the divorce was complete,
Mm-hmm.
as in the definition, completion of a process. So that was the process of ending that relationship. But the residue was the hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so currently I'm single as a dollar bill. Okay. But what I thought about was maybe, and I don't know, but this is just my thinking since this conversation with my dad. Maybe I need to go ahead and make sure that residue of that hurt is off of me. That residue, because when I think of residue, I think like with the shower and stuff, you have that soap scum, that residue, you want to clean it off so it's clean and pretty and presentable. So I compare that to myself. So like with that hurt, is that residue of hurt off of me so that when I am introduced to my knight in shiny armor, my Boaz, that I will be, well, I'm already cute and pretty. But will I be presentable for him? Will I be ready for him? Will I be over that hurt so that I don't bring that into this new relationship? So my dad really had me thinking about some things. He had me thinking about, so y'all agree, tell y'all a little bit of my business. Some people say I talk too much, I share too much, I overshare, but we are a transparent show. Jay is like, let me drink because I don't know what she about to say.
Exactly. So go ahead, my sister.
Thank you. So part of that relationship, I had purchased a home. And during that time, we were a 2-income household.
Okay.
So it was feasible for us to have this home, and it was actually purchased as a rental property. Had I known that relationship was going to end, would I have still purchased that property? Would I have not? I don't know. So long story short, these past 3 years, I have been challenged in several areas, including my finances. So I had to let that rental property go. Now, in retrospect, when we first started the process of getting that rental property, I was never really settled in it.
Okay.
Now, although I was able to maintain it, and even after divorce, I was able to hold on to that property for about 12 years on my own, in addition to handling my own living expenses. I think when I think about it, that was residue that God needed to break off from that. I needed to be fully released from that relationship, and that was something that was birthed from that relationship. So, I'm just going to go ahead and be honest. I had to end up having the home go into foreclosure.
Okay.
Yes. And so I'm dealing with that. And if there's anyone out there that wants to do a pro bono bankruptcy, I'm all ears.
I know that's
anyway.
Hey.
So that was like residue from that relationship. So I say all that to say there's some things in our lives that needs to be completely broken off after what we think is complete. Sometimes they're leftovers. And as Jay know, I don't like leftovers.
She's so bougie.
I don't do leftovers.
She's so bougie.
Now I might do some spaghetti.
But that's when it's the best because the seasonings and everything done soaked in. And it's not just spaghetti, it's anything. Like it tastes better the next day.
Okay. I'm not sold. But
well, she don't cook either. I mean, so what does she know about leftovers?
Right.
But anyway, get back to your residue.
So, yes, let me get girl, you know what? Let me go get some 409 and take this residue out. Let's get y'all some spiritual 409 and get that residue out your life. Because while you think something is over, just also process whether or not when that process is over, is it really over? Are you still dealing with some particles that kind of stuck to you and you need to get that spiritual 409 and spray it and get it off of you? So let's focus on that and let's get rid of that residue. And so we have doctor, nurse, therapist Jay here.
Okay.
And so what we want to do right now is get some feedback. And if she wants to share about any residue in her life, we welcome it because, fam, we are nosy.
So when I heard you say residue.
Come on. Ready.
The first thing that I thought about was, when someone shaves a piece of wood, and,
Mm-hmm.
all the shavings and stuff, kind of fall off, and it's
Right.
like real dusty. Like, it's hard to get rid of that because, when you sweep it up or whatever, you think that it's swept up, but in actuality, you still kind of see some of those shavings everywhere and they just kind of linger around.
Right.
And so I just heard lingering when I heard residue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just lingers around, and something that you think that you put away is actually not gone until you face it again.
My God.
Because now I can say this. If you've been in a relationship with somebody and you haven't seen them, you feel like you're over them.
Mm-hmm.
But wait until you see that joker. And then that's when some of that old stuff kind of rise up in you and it comes out of you. And so what's that saying that once it's gone, what is it? You don't miss.
Girl, you don't want to know the saying I was thinking.
No, what is that saying to where it's not you don't miss it. It's not you. It's not
miss something till it's gone.
No, it's not that one. I don't know. But anyway.
The saying I was thinking of is the way to get over a man is to get up under another one.
So anyway, to the lady that doesn't eat leftovers. So, but what I'm saying is that we have this habit of thinking that things are over.
Mm-hmm.
Things are, done because you don't see that person anymore. But when you see that person, some of that stuff rises back up because, if you don't see them, you don't think about them.
Right.
If you don't see them, you don't know if they're doing good or if they're doing bad. Not that you want anyone to be doing bad, but it's like then when you see them and it's just like, oh, she or he, this and that. Oh, he looked like he doing fine. And, he left me, over here with this. And we've all been through a situation like that.
So is it out of sight, out of mind?
That's it.
Okay.
Out of sight, out of mind. That is it. And when you see him or her, that's when that residue. You realize that those wood shavings have come back up. You realize that those wood shavings did not get swept up off the floor that well because all those old feelings start coming back. And especially if you don't resolve conflict. Because a lot of times, I know some people have a problem with, dealing with things head on. And some people don't like dealing with conflict. Some people don't want to address some things that have bothered them with this person or, with somebody. And they'll go and talk to Jamie about it. But Jamie is not the one that you have an issue with. It's Bill that you have an issue with. So you can talk to Jamie all day long, but that residue is still going to be around because you didn't handle it with Bill. So until you talk to Bill and until you address Bill, with whatever those issues were, I think that helps residue really go. Because when you have those conversations that are kind of like not complete and you're sitting back thinking, oh, I should have said this to her, or I should have said that to him, or why did the conversation go that way? A lot of times people think, which I've had this problem in the past, people think that when you address them and when you talk to them, you're arguing, maybe because you feel passionate about something. But a conversation does not have to be about an argument. And I find that when people say that, oh, she's fussing at me or she has an attitude with me. No, I don't have an attitude. But you feel that way because you want to do the coward way out and you want to go and talk to somebody else about an issue that doesn't even have anything to do with them. It's an issue that has something to do with us. So that's another way that residue sits around. It's because you don't talk to the person that you actually have the issue and the problem with. And that residue is going to always be around if you do not deal with it head on and stop trying to avoid conflict, because you have so many people that will not address people, but they'll call you and be like, girl, let me tell you what such and such did. And it's like, okay, well, no, I ain't going to say nothing to her. I'm going to just let it pass. Well, clearly it's bothering you because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
You wouldn't be calling whomever to talk to them about what Jane did. Talk to Jane, deal with it with Jane head on. And sometimes, you just have to agree to disagree. But in life, we're going to continue to have residue. We're going to continue to have those wood shavings. We're going to continue to have those things that linger around because we don't want to deal with conflict. And until we can be honest with ourselves and until we can address things head on and be honest with other people, That's where I think forgiveness comes in.
Mhm.
You have residue lingering around because you haven't forgiven anybody. And maybe that's why that residue is still there, because it's a reminder on something that God wants you to do. You have to forgive people sometimes in order to move on. Because if you don't forgive people, it's still going to be there.
And the reason why I'm looking at her crazy in the face, let me tell y'all about Jay. She is so full of wisdom. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm really being genuine. She is so full of wisdom. She has helped me through so many ugly cries that, I mean, I'm just in awe. And look, I've known her for some years, but it's just like when she opens her mouth, she just, I mean, we need the plates. And I'm going to need y'all to not skimp on your offering. I'm going to need y'all to bless the woman of God.
Oh my gosh. You are so, I love you.
But anyway.
I love you. I do. And thank you so much for the compliment. But, you know, it's not all me. But, I don't know. I'm saying that's just what I heard. Like when you were talking and when you was, you know, giving the definition of residue and what it is, that's just what I saw. I just saw wood shavings, just with someone cutting a piece of wood. You know, you're setting something apart. And sometimes when you set something apart, like that season is up. It's nothing wrong with you growing out of somebody, and there's nothing wrong with you going your separate ways. But just make sure that when you do go your separate ways, you do it right. Make sure that when you do go your separate ways, you're not going around and talking about this person behind their back, because at some point in time, y'all had that relationship for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And something came out of that relationship. Now, granted, it might have ended up bad, but it's okay. At some point, it was good. So don't forget about those good things. Don't forget about those things that person was there for you with. I mean, because it couldn't have been all bad.
No, it was. Are we still talking about my marriage?
I mean,
no, it was. Listen, in the
not your marriage, but
the very beginning.
Yeah.
In the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
it was great. It was excellent. It was
Mm-hmm.
everything I thought I prayed for, but apparently that's not what was meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to know your thoughts on this. So the other part of the conversation I had with my dad about David
Mm-hmm.
was that, you know, as far as the residue, my dad was saying, you know, before he could be appointed, he had to really prove himself. So while he was out there in the shepherd's field tending them sheep, for him, he thought he was tending the sheep. But then God wanted to see if he was fearless. So he was out there killing animals with his hand to keep them from the sheep. As most of us know about the story, David and Goliath, God needed to see if he was able to use what he had at his disposal, which was those 5 stones in a slingshot. God had to also see if he was a fearless warrior, if he was able to lead people before he could actually be appointed as king. So, as far as individuals who are, let's just say, take me.
All right, Blanche.
Y'all, I love the Golden Girls. And for my 45th birthday,
she wants to go on a Golden Girls cruise.
Yes. So if you guys want to support that, I can give you my Cash App. So anyway, you know, I've been at this dream forever. And then God put us together. And now, in my hashtags, I do a dream reimagined because sometimes your dream is not just necessarily for you, it's for other people.
That's true.
To pull them along and to help them.
That's true.
Be appointed as a result of their anointment. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to go with it.
But you made one up today.
Yes.
Praise the Lord.
So being that, you know, I shared that conversation with you about David, my hopes and my dreams, did you hear anything about, I mean, when I say hear, like what came to mind as far as, you know, the challenges and the struggles that I've shared with you as far as this dream and residue?
To much is given, much is required. Because
Come on. Come on. Come through,
because
Jesus.
because here's the thing. It's like, okay, this just came to my mind. Okay, so we can use a car as an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you drive a Nissan
Mm-hmm.
and then you drive a Mercedes, okay, and I don't know if we have to. Do we have to give them any type of credits or anything when we're talking about cars or anything? But I'm just using this as an analogy.
Yeah,
So
we're not the makers or owners
yeah,
of Nissan or
we're not.
Mercedes.
We're not.
Okay.
So let's say you have a Nissan Sentra, and then you have a Mercedes, 350 class or whatever. I'm a BMW girl myself, but anyway, but Mercedes is what came to mind. Okay, so the maintenance on a Nissan and the parts on a Nissan is not going to cost as much as the maintenance on a Mercedes, because a Mercedes is a luxury car. Not trying to down a Nissan, because there's nothing wrong with Nissan, but I'm just using this as comparison as far as an analogy is concerned. So when you do an oil change on a Nissan, 9 times out of 10, you probably can go somewhere, Jiffy Lube or what have you, and you can get that Nissan and get an oil change on that, maybe about $35. Although I don't own a Mercedes, but if you have a Mercedes, I'm pretty sure that an average oil change on a Mercedes is probably close to maybe even $300. I don't know, but I know it's pretty pricey on how much an oil change is going to cost, as well as parts, as well as maintenance. So sometimes you have to stop, or you have to start at a certain place before you can be elevated to take care of things that's going to cost a little more, and that's going to maintain a little more of your time as well as finances. And sometimes you have to be in a certain place or either go through certain things before you can be elevated to get to that point of a Mercedes. So you start with a Nissan and you appreciate that Nissan, you take care of that Nissan, you keep that Nissan clean, you get all the maintenance and make sure that the tires and everything is done. Because if you can't take care of a Nissan, then how are you going to be able to take care of a Mercedes?
Mm-hmm.
Because that Mercedes is going to require a lot more money. And that's just how it is in life. To much is given, much is required. If you're faithful over the little things, then you'll be blessed with things that are more. So God had to see David before he even knew the calling that he had on his life. God had to see where he was before he became king. He had to be, humble. Because sometimes when people get into certain places, they get a little arrogant. And, they kind of forget where they came from. And they kind of treat people a certain kind of way because, they're in that place. And then you have some people, unfortunately, that when they get in a certain place, that place defines them. David wasn't worried about that. David did what he had to do. He took care of what he had to take care of. So therefore, when he got in that place, he didn't forget who he was. He didn't forget where he came from. He knew that the calling that he had on his life was much more. So when he was out getting dirty and taking care of the sheep and doing that, he was in a humbling place. So then when he got advanced and God moved him to king, he knew how to handle people. He knew how to take care of people because he took care of sheep. And sheep, they listen. They pretty much are followers, and they pretty much do, what the shepherd tells them to do. And so when you're in leadership, you want to be a leader to where people can trust you. You want to be a leader to where people can follow you. And so I think that's how God, prepared David to be in the position that he ended up being in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just used the cars as an example that you can't drive a Nissan into the ground and don't get the tires changed and don't get the oils changed and, do all the maintenance that you have to do. And then when you get blessed with $100,000 car, if you wouldn't get an oil change on a $30 oil change, how you gonna get an oil change that's $200 or more on a Mercedes?
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that's just where it is. God put us in places to see, are we appreciative to where we are? Are we content where we are? Are we content with driving this Nissan right now? Yes, you might have your eye on a Mercedes, but let's take care of where you are now. Let's get that residue off. Let's deal with those conflicts. Let's deal with those issues that we have within ourselves. Let's take care of our credit, or let's take care of ABC 1, 2, 3. So when God does elevate us, or when we are wanting to go and start that new position or to start that job or to start that business, you have been in an humble place to where when you elevate and get there, you're prepared and you're ready. Because you can't go not paying a $30 oil change and then drive the Mercedes and think you're going to treat that the same way. Then you haven't learned. You haven't learned your lesson. You still have a Nissan mentality.
Come on now.
And your mentality has to change as you go up. You can't keep thinking and doing things the same way.
Right.
When God elevates you.
Right.
So that's what
so
I have to say.
feel like as far as my dream is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
I have been in some very humbling circumstances.
Yes, you're actually in one now.
I'm in one now.
We both are. Y'all just don't know it yet, but
yeah,
we both are.
Yeah, we'll have a testimony. I know I keep saying this, but I promise you, we will share the story
one day.
One day. So yeah, so right now I'm in a Nissan, actually, literally and figuratively.
You know, I didn't think about that.
Yes.
She drives a Nissan Altima, you guys.
Yes, and I take care of that thing like it is a luxury car.
That's right. We have to.
And so I just feel that, you know, with what you just said and the conversation I had with my dad, by sharing this with you guys, like a little bit of, you know, what I've gone through, that you would now start to look at what residue are you carrying?
Mm-hmm.
What needs to be broken off of you? And it could be some hard work. It could be some challenging work and some very defining work, because it's not easy to face your residue and to come to a truth or come to grips or acknowledge and accept it. Mm-hmm. But we have to do it, folks, because I'm sure we've all heard the saying, you can't take everyone or everything to where you're going. You're going to have to let some people, places, and things go. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to get somewhere. And for me and Jay, we're not trying. We're speaking that thing. We are going somewhere with this show together, and we have our own individual goals that we're working on. And we're going to do this thing. I'm speaking it now, and don't be surprised. This is going to be an international show.
That's right.
On our podcast and those who are viewing it. And we're not concerned. I just feel led to say this. We're not concerned about the views. Mm-hmm. Although it right now in this day and time, views, likes, mentions are important in order to, you know, get your show seen or acknowledged or whatever it is that you put on social media.
The algorithm.
You know, it is important. I'm not discounting that, but we just believe by faith.
By faith.
Because we've been working through some residue, she and I.
Yes.
We have during this season.
Yes.
So because of that, we believe that this thing gonna take off. And we need for you to believe that this thing gonna take off.
That's right.
I hope y'all don't hear that train.
I was sitting up here thinking that with your crazy self, you said something.
But if you do, actually that train just blew to confirm. Thank you, Holy Ghost. And agree with us that this residue is going to be broke off, because you, me, she, her, and we're going to do this thing. So whatever it is that you're seeking to do, do it.
Do it.
You have our pastor, Pastor C. Porter of Christ Community Fellowship here in Raleigh, North Carolina, has always said to his congregation that we have enough to get started. You already have what you need to get started. You just have to figure out what that thing is.
What you have is enough.
Yes, what you have is enough. So what you have is enough. Start, get that residue off, because you want to go ahead and get that residue off, because I'm sure we've all heard that a new level is a new devil. So learn what you need to learn. Be able to take care of what you need to take care of at this level, because if you can take care of it at this level, then you can take care of it at the next bigger level. And so, no residue.
No residue.
No residue.
No residue. And I do have one more thing to add.
Come on, girl. Add it.
If you don't be honest with anybody else, be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself about how you are. And, you know, some things that you may need to change, because we all need to change. We all have growth. And that's including me, that there's been some things over the years that I really had to talk to myself about. And I'm like, now, Jay, you know that you got this issue and you need to, as Matthew would say, you need to get in front of it.
Yes.
So don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Don't look in the mirror and disregard the issue that you know really deep down inside that you have that you need to work on. Because we all have issues that we need to work on. Sometimes we need to work on our tone, with the way that we talk to people. Speaking of, I had a girl, bless her heart. What store was I at, Father? I was at the grocery store. And I walked up to her and I had to say hello first.
Mm-hmm.
But I was brought up old school. The customer service rep's supposed to speak to the customers first.
Right.
And I was like, hi, how are you? Fine. She ring up my groceries or what have you. And, she tell me the price or what have you. So I paid. And I said, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. She didn't say a word. Okay, now peep this. So there was a gentleman behind me.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, hey, I'm doing fine. How are you? And she just like,
wow.
And I was like, did she really just not speak to me? But I mean, with the gentleman, if she had all 32, she showed him all of that and then some.
Shade.
And I was just like, how do you go from I'm, friendly, I wasn't a rude customer. And like I said, I spoke to her first, which I shouldn't have had to do. But, I teach Chase. I was like, she's like, Mommy, I know. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm like, don't you ever. When people walk up and you're conducting business, you're supposed to address them first. But anyway, that's a whole nother ball game. But my whole point is that, that speaks volumes with how you even treat a stranger in a customer service setting. Now, she might not have wanted it to be there that day. And again, I don't know what she dealt with before she, left the house. I don't know if she just recently lost, a loved one or whatever the case may be. But when we have those issues, see that's residue again. That's residue again. No matter what's going on in your life, when you're out in a public setting, because you don't know who you're going to come across. Because I could have been able to help her in any kind of way.
I was just thinking that.
You don't know what presence or whose presence, I should say, you're going to be in. You don't know who you're going to encounter on that day. And that was your first impression is a lasting impression. Because I felt like, okay, well, what does she have against a woman? Like, I'm friendly, I'm nice, and I wasn't upset that, she gave all the clout, to the dude. It just made me kind of feel like, well, okay, you seeking attention from me, and unfortunately, but that was the first thing that I thought about was because, I didn't say much, but I just said hello, and I was like, and then when I said, thank you so much, have a good day, she just dismissed me as if I didn't say anything.
As if you just didn't come through her line.
At all,
Wow.
Those are just some small things that we need to work on. We need to work on as just people in general, with no matter what we're going through, no matter what kind of residue we have on us when we leave the house. We still have to present ourselves because you never know whose presence that you're going to come into. And just be honest with yourself where you are. Just be honest with yourself on how you deal and how you handle things. And life happens all day long. It happens all day long. But you never know who can be there for you to help you through that. And again, don't look in the mirror and lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself where you are. And if people are saying the same thing about you over and over again, and it's different groups of people, listen to it. Listen to, because at some point you got to be the common denominator. I'm just saying.
Following you from friendship to relationship to.
I'm just saying. At some point it has to be some truth about it. Just like people tell me I'm blunt. Don't ask me anything if you don't want the truth. And I will tell you, Johnette is blunt.
She is.
And I do it with love. I do it with kindness, and I do it with care. But I've always been that way. And is there something wrong with it? It's a blessing and it's a curse, because you can hurt some people's feelings, and then some people need, so that's where you have to have some discernment. You have to know who you could talk to like that, and who you just got to just, like I told her one time. Now that just don't make no sense, right? That's just plumb foolish. And she was crying, you guys.
I was mourning the loss of my mother.
But now, wait a minute. But you have to say, but
no. It's not bad because I'm also blunt, so I can take a blunt person. Like, I think that's why she and I work. And I was talking crazy.
She was
in deep in my grief.
She was, and I had to pull her out.
She said that I snapped back. I was like, I know this heifer did not just tell me while I'm snot. I mean, I was crying some.
She was
like
she was. Breathe. She was, but she was that talk that she had going on was not.
But it pulled me. It got me straight.
Yeah, that was some crazy talk. Yeah, that was some crazy talk that day, and I had to be like, I was like, now that's just plumb foolishness now. But anyway, we thank you guys for letting us be us, and make sure you have friends that let you be you, but also have friends that will correct you. Also have friends that will pray for you. Also have friends that will support you and help you with your residue, because we all have it. I have residue. She has residue. You have residue. And, there's some people I ain't seen in a long time that I've, we're not friends anymore, or, we don't socialize. But let me see that crowd and let me see what's going to come up. I'm telling you, if you ain't seen nobody in a while, you might not realize, how they have an effect on you. And then when you see them, you just get all swollen up and you start thinking about stuff from the past. Y'all better get that stuff off of you. Now watch them run into somebody they ain't seen in a long time.
I'll be like, girl, did you have your 409? Your spiritual 409?
Get yourself together. Get them wood shavings. Get them wood shavings. But anyway, so you want to come to a close because we...
Listen, in the words, is it Porky Pig? I believe. That's all, folks. I didn't come up with that. I do not own the rights to that line.
Warner Brothers? Is that what?
Yes, Warner Brothers.
These kids don't know about Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny.
They're going to learn today.
I'm trying to tell you, Saturday mornings.
Yes.
It's perfect. Eat a bowl of cereal and watch cartoons all day. But you had to clean up. Mm-hmm. Mama got you out of bed and you had to clean up. Early. You was not laying in the bed all day long. These kids don't know about that.
You got your Christian music playing, blasting. Mm-hmm. We done had a hard week at school. We
trying to listen to some R&B. What about trying to hear that Christian music? That was that old school music. I'm coming up on the rough side.
Coming up, which I learned I don't want to come up on the rough side.
On the mountain, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, guys, we thank you guys for tuning in today.
Tune.
Get rid of your residue. Mm-hmm. No residue. That's the theme for this. Well, for next week, because by the time I release this, we'll be going into a new week. But for next week, actually for your life, no residue. No residue. So, guys, check us out on social media. We are also a podcast. We are on mostly all of the podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, and many others. Mm-hmm. You can also see us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm trying to figure out how we can get on TikTok, but we'll do that.
Can we do TikTok?
I don't know.
Okay, who knows? They can do everything else. So
I know. So anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. We love you, and we will see you next week.
Bye.